Hello, this is grade 8, natural science. We are looking at life and living. It has got 3 units. We have covered unit number 1 on photosynthesis and respiration. We have covered part of unit 2, and the section that we are doing today, it's still under unit 2, and the title there, or the topic, is energy flow. Okay, and the very first subsection is food chain. They say green plants and algae play an important role in ecosystem. I just want to show you what is algae and what I'm talking about when I keep referring to algae. Okay, this is the green stuff that you see on top of the water or just a watery place. That green stuff is called algae. I know I've been mentioning algae, but I can't just assume that you know what is algae, so I needed to show you. Okay, let's go back to our textbook now. They say green plants, we are on page 48 of your textbook. Green plants and algae plays an important role in ecosystem. The sun provides energy. Just 1 minute. The sun provides energy. The organisms capture the energy and convert it into food through the process of photosynthesis. We've done this process. We know that there are 4 requirements for photosynthesis, and out of photosynthesis we get 2 products. By now you know them. The energy is transferred from producers, you remember producers, it's plants, to consumers, herbivores, carnivores, you remember, to consumers in the food that they eat. This transfer of energy is represented in a food chain. Okay, so they say this transfer of energy is represented in a food chain. Decomposers are the last link in a food chain. You remember decomposers? They place the energy back into the atmosphere and the soil of the ecosystem. Each phase in a food chain is called trophic level. Remember, each phase in a food chain is called trophic level. At each trophic level, energy is lost due to the movement of cellular processes. Okay, at each level, what? Energy is lost. Why? Due to the movement of cellular processes. Okay, now here is the definition of the trophic level. He said the trophic level is the position that an organism holds in a food chain. Trophic level is the position that an organism holds in a food chain, because they say each phase is called each phase in a food chain is called a trophic level. Okay, and the definition of trophic level is the position that an organism holds in a food chain. Are we together? Okay, let's continue with our food chain. Here we've got, in the next page, page 49, we've got an example of food chain. See, we've got the sun there, we've got the grass, we've got a locust, we've got a frog, we've got the snake, and we've got the bird. Is that the eagle? I think so. So if you can see that the grass or the plant will absorb the sunlight energy. Okay, and the locust will eat the grass, and the frog will eat the locust, and the snake will eat the frog, and the eagle will eat the snake. That is the food chain. Okay, and obviously the plant is our producers, and from there it is consumers. This is a herbivore because it only eats plants. Okay, so you can follow and name your organism according to where they belong in the consumers. Okay, so I need to minimize this so that we get a clear explanation. Okay, so they say at the first place, we start with the sun. The sun provides energy. The plants, which are the producers, use this energy to produce their own food. The grasshopper, which is a primary consumer, eats the grass. And the frog is the secondary consumer, it eats the grasshopper. The frog is eaten by the snake, which is a tertiary consumer, and the snake is eaten by the falcon. My apologies, not the eagle, this one, it's the falcon. Okay, the snake is then eaten by the falcon. You see, that's the food chain. You need to be able, if you get a photo in a test or exam, they draw this and they ask you to explain. This is the explanation that you must follow to explain the food chain. Okay, let's continue and read our notes there at the bottom. Can you see clearly on the notes? Yes. They say, however, the food chain does not end with the falcon. Okay. After the falcon dies, okay, which means now the falcon will die eventually. After the falcon dies, its body is broken down by the detritivores. You remember the detritivores and decomposes, and energy is released into the soil, atmosphere, and water. Energy is transferred from one organism to the other. Okay, there are food chains that are a lot more complex, but there are also many food chains that are simpler than the one above. Let us define a food chain. So now we need to know what is a food chain. They say a food chain is the relationship in which energy in food flows between living organisms. Okay, let's go for it again. Food chain is the relationship in which energy in food flows between living organisms. And a food chain always has producers and consumers. Okay, are we good? We follow the food chain. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, let's continue. We also see another, is this a food chain, or they say, let's see. So here, let me minimize it. Good. They say the following flow diagram represent an energy cycle. If it flows, it shows how nutrients are circulated in the presence of sunlight. Okay, and we have a zebra, we have a lion, we have a lion. Let's read. We have consumers, which are primary, secondary, and tertiary. Okay, so we start here by the producers, which is the plant. You see the grass, it is eaten by the consumers, either primary, secondary, and tertiary consumers. Okay, and the consumers, they die and they are decomposed by detritivores and decomposers. Okay, and yes, we are covered here. And then they become nutrients, and after they become nutrients, they are absorbed and by producers, and they are also used in photosynthesis. Okay, I think nutrients are absorbed by the producers, yes, which is the plants. Okay, those are the minerals. Let's start again. I want to explain this cycle again. So we start by producers, which is your plant, grass example. It is eaten by consumer, primary consumer, even secondary consumers, and tertiary say consumers. Okay, and then once they eat that, okay, they're eaten by primary consumer. This is the primary consumer. Secondary consumer, it eats the herbivore and the tertiary consumers. And after that, they die. You see the lion is dead now, and it is decomposed by detritivores and decomposers. That's your fungus, and yeah. algae. So it is decomposed by these detritivores and the decomposers, and it is absorbed by the soil as nutrients. Okay, now the nutrients will be used for photosynthesis. They will be absorbed by the roots, and they will be used to make producers, which are the plants. Okay, are we clear? This is the diagram that represents the energy cycle. This is not the food chain. This is the energy cycle. So you need to know this energy cycle as well. I'm trying to zoom it. So you need to be able to explain the energy cycle of food. Okay. And I think we have come to an end of our energy chain, food chain under energy flow. Okay, so now we will go and look on page 53 at the bottom there. Let's go to the bottom of page 53. We are still under energy flow. Okay, let's see my textbook. Yes, now we come to food webs. We have covered the food chain. Now we look at food webs. Okay, that is the bottom of page 53. They say consumers, which are animals, eat such a wide variety of food that the food chains can overlap. Herbivores eat a variety of plants. Carnivores and insectivores also eat a variety of animals and insects. This causes the development of food chains into food webs. Okay, so which means the food chain developed to be a food web because the animals are eating a variety of food in a time in such a way that it overlaps. So a food web is a variety of interlinked food chains. A food web is a variety of interlinked food chains. Okay. Now let's look at the diagram. Let's look at the diagram. I also want it to come with the explanation so that we can see. I hope you can see. Is it clear? Yes, it's a little bit clearer. Okay, let me see if my wording. Yes, you can see in your screen there. Okay, they say, let's look at the diagram here and we study the notes. They say in this diagram, we can see various food chains and how they are linked. Number one, they say we have worms. Here is a worm. We have grasshoppers, mice, guinea fowl, and antelope eat grass and plants. So worm, the grasshopper, the mice, and the guinea fowl, and they say those they are eating grass and plants. And we have herbivores are usually a source of food for various predators. Okay, carnivores and omnivores. Okay, so we have herbivores and we have predators like this ones. Okay, and they say the grasshopper is eaten by the frog, the snake catches a mouse, the genet catches a mouse. You see the snake catches a mouse, and the genet catches a mouse as well. A frog and guinea fowl, bird and snake. The leopard, okay, let's start again. The grasshopper is eaten by the frog and the bird. Okay, the snake. Okay, let's start again then. They say the grasshopper is eaten by the frog and the bird. The snake catches the mouse. The genet catches the mouse, frog, guinea fowl, bird, and snake. Okay. And the leopard eats the antelope and the guinea fowl. Okay. And the genet and the guinea fowl are eaten by the eagle. Wow. Because the food chain overlap, a food web exists. Okay, because the food chains are overlapping here, we find that we've got a food web. Decomposers are always at the top of the food chain or food web. Okay. And decomposers recycle the nutrients in dead plants and in animals and plow it back to the soil. So decomposers are very important in the food chain or food web. These nutrients that are plowed back by decomposers make the soil fertile and make it possible for plants to grow again. So we will always have the cycle there. Okay, that is the food web. The food web is when your food chains are overlapping. Okay, and you find that you have a web at the end of the day. Okay, that brings us to the end of the food web, and we will look at the energy pyramid. We will look at the energy pyramid. Let's continue. Our energy pyramid is on page 56. Okay, let me zoom this a little bit so that it's clearer. Yes, can you see the energy pyramid? Okay, there we go. A food pyramid is a representation. Energy pyramid is the same as food pyramid. A food pyramid is a representation of the numbers and the flow of energy from an organism at one trophic level. You remember the trophic level is the phases in a food chain. You remember. So they say a food pyramid is a representation of the numbers and the flow of energy from an organism at one trophic level to an organism at the following trophic level. This representation is in the form of a pyramid. Okay, so I think I should start at the bottom of the, yes. So this is the bottom of our pyramid. It's the plant. The snail will eat the plant, the blackbird will eat the snail, and the hawk will eat the blackbird. And this, the plant is the producer, the snail is a primary consumer, the blackbird is a secondary consumer, and the hawk is the tertiary consumer. Okay, let's read the notes there at the bottom. I still want us to be able to see the full pyramid as we read the notes. Yes, let's go. As you can see from the diagram above, the energy and the numbers of the organism at the higher trophic level are less than at the lower trophic level. Oh, okay. Take into consideration that energy organism uses energy for respiration, reproduction, etc., which makes survival possible. Only approximately 10% of the net energy production of one trophic level is transferred to the following one. Therefore, less energy is available at the next trophic level. So at the bottom, your first trophic level, you'll have bigger energy, and at the top, you will have less energy, and that is your energy pyramid. And they explain the reason here. They say that you must take into consideration that each organism uses energy for respiration and reproduction, which makes survival possible. So which means somewhere in the chain there is loss of energy because it's been used for respiration and production. So that is why at the bottom there's a lot of energy, but at the top there's a few energy level or less energy level because it's lost during reproduction and respiration between the food chains. They say only approximately 10% of the net energy production of the trophic level is transferred to the following level. So if from here up to here only about 10% moves to here, and the next here 10%, so you see over and over we lose the energy. They say therefore less energy is available for the next trophic level. That is your energy pyramid. Okay, and the next section, which will be the last one for this section, is on page 61, and it talks about ecological balance. Okay, ecological balance. So this is different to the food chain. Okay, so what is this ecological balance? Let me zoom it so that we are all in the same page and we follow what's happening. An ecosystem can only accommodate as many organisms as the resources. For example, those resources are food, water, and shelter can sustain. Okay, let's start. An ecosystem can only accommodate as many organisms as the resources can sustain. Okay, so we don't want scarcity. We must have organism and enough resources. Okay, for sustenance or for sustainability. If there is no balance between the number of resources and the number of organisms, it could have a detrimental influence on the ecosystem, because the needs will grow bigger and bigger and there won't be resources. And you remember from I think EMS, we talked about scarcity. Okay, now they explain what is the ecological balance. It's a stable balance in the number of each species in a ecosystem. Ecological balance is a stable balance in the number of each species in the ecosystem. There are many factors that could influence the balance of an ecosystem. We will distinguish between natural and human factors that influence the balance in an ecosystem. Okay, the two types of disturbances. Okay, so let's look at the factors that can influence the balance of the ecological system. So those factors, number one, it's human factors and natural factors. So let's look at human factors. Human factors, they say population may survive. For example, habitat destruction, pollution, and climate change. We've talked about this in technology when we were doing electricity. You remember pollution. So human factors, it can be pollution, habitat destruction. Maybe if we are building malls or factories where there are certain types of bird, you see, so we are destructing the home of this animal. Habitat is home. So habitat destruction, pollution, and climate change. Okay, and let's look at the natural factors, which are food shortages, predators, diseases, droughts, and flood. Those, they can influence the ecological balance. Okay, but they say population will most probably survive, and they say here population may become extinct. Kwaga, South Africa, Javandan tiger, Indonesia, golden frog, Costa. Okay, so if these things, if we have these factors, population, especially due to human factors, they say population may become extinct, so which means it may disappear. Like for example, there was quagga in South Africa, which was an animal that disappeared. I don't know if quagga was an animal, but we can quickly check what was quagga. Okay, let's do that quickly. I hope we'll be able to see what was quagga. Let me see. Yes, you see, this is the type of animal. They say quagga were extinct for 100 years. You see, it's a certain type of zebra. Okay, so they say this type of animals were extinct, which means they were never seen again, right? So this can be caused by human factors, but they say with natural factors population can still survive. Most of it will survive, but with human factors population may not survive. This is a challenge. Human factors, and it's things that we can avoid. It's things that we can avoid. Okay, so very important to know what are the factors that affect a ecological balance, right? The two factors are human factors and natural factors. With human factors, population may not survive. Population may become extinct, okay? And with natural factors, population will most probably survive, okay? And they give us an example of population that have been extinct. That brings us to the end of our lesson, and we have covered energy flow. Under energy flow, we have covered food chain, food web, and energy pyramid. And we have also covered ecological balance. Under ecological balance, we covered the factors that may affect the ecological balance, which is human factors and natural factors. Okay, so please, as we always do, go and study this. You can't listen to this once and expect to know it. So you need to go back to your book and study over and over again. We don't study once, we study over and over and over until we know our work. That brings us to the end of our lesson today. Thank you.